And Hall of Famer John McClain with us, and normally, and we will, get into some NFL topics and look back. Texans lost last-second heartbreak, and, of course, the Cowboys are on a free fall, but now playing injury-riddled San Francisco. John, welcome to, the Baylor Bears took care of your happiness over the weekend, did they not?
They certainly did, and they certainly made the Texans losing on a field goal with no time left at Green Bay easier to stomach, and so it was a great job by Dave Aranda, Jake Spavital, all the guys. But I noticed I read Sikkim every day, and I love looking at the picks, and I can't remember who the two picked Baylor, and I thought they were absolutely out of their mind because I am always asked down here for my prediction, and like you guys, I predicted them to get beat, putting up 59 more than any team in college football last weekend was just so much fun to watch. And I'd say we were making jokes on my text thread with all these Baylor grads. We've all been fans since the early 60s about get the ball Josh Cameron 10 times a game, then 15 times a game, then 20 times a game, because that kid is special. But it was great. I think they're going to beat Oklahoma State. We're all fired up now, get to be 500. And I don't know anybody that's not celebrating that victory and so happy. And I'm glad for Aranda and the coaches and the players and all the fans that go to all the games and all my friends in Waco who cover the team. So congratulations to those fighting Baylor Bears. Now I want them to kick the mullet's butt.
John,
I was trying to think who he was talking about, but it's Gundy. Yeah,
it's Gundy.
Is there another mullet?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's the only one. John, when you saw the amount of points that they put up this week, were you like, where was that hiding?
I was flabbergasted, and the offensive line did so much better. And I was happy to see Finn get that touchdown. If he hadn't gotten hurt, we may never have seen Sawyer Robertson make the improvement he's made, the growth. And for him to go back and do that in his hometown, was he not offered a scholarship by Tech?
I don't remember what the timeline of that was.
I read something about it that he wasn't, but how could he not be when he was at Coronado High School and he won all kinds of awards?
Well, I think Kingsbury, was it Kingsbury or it would have been somebody else at the time, but Mike Leach called him, and that might trump anything local, I mean, I'm sure he would have gone to Tech if he was offered, but Mike Leach calls, I think that's a pretty impressive thing. That it's hard to turn that down.
I guess there could have been a happier player, a happier family than Robertson's family. I think they've all been Tech fans and season ticket holders that I read on Sikkim Sports and in the Trib. And I thought the coverage was great on Sikkim Sports. I thought the coverage was great in the Tribune Herald. And I'm reading everything. And this is the first week I haven't said, I can't wait for basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. Based on what I saw here, the reason why Sawyer was not a member of that Texas Tech class was because that was the one they got Baron Morton. So the guy he just beat was the quarterback in that class for Tech, and that's why Sawyer didn't get that nod, I believe.
That makes it even more delicious for him and his family.
Yes, it does, John. So Oklahoma State's reeling, but you look at this schedule, and they got a chance to make a little bit of noise. How much? I mean, can't get too over our skis, even though everybody was thirsting for a win like that for 2 years now, so everybody's enjoying it. But how do you feel about, being able to kind of carry this thing into a home game against Oklahoma State and then hopefully beyond that?
I'm glad to see the Sailor Bear helmets are coming out for this game. Also, Oklahoma State just played its best game of the year and lost. I stayed up and watched that game. They were fantastic. And I thought they were going to upset BYU, which is unbeaten and might be the best team in the Big 12. The I've been watching the SEC a lot, and of course it's a superior conference. The Big 12's not as good, but the balance and the competition in the Big 12, my goodness, I just can't imagine that BYU is going to keep it up. And they're at Kansas State. Kansas State's still good. I can't wait to see how it plays out. Baylor I know they don't want to think about this, but if you look at the schedule, every game is winnable. Not saying they're going to win, but they're winnable. If they play like that, they got a chance to win out. I'm not saying they will, but they're not playing Texas, not playing Oklahoma. I wish they were playing Oklahoma. And so I think you guys would agree that each of those games is winnable. Do you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, there's no game where you're like, well, again, never knowing the Big 12 is so, like, psychotic in some ways, but I don't see a game where that's not going to happen. You can win 2, 3, or 4, or 5 of them. You don't know, but let's see if they can win back-to-back first.
Still makes me sick. I want to vomit when I think about that, the end of the game in Colorado and how close they came to winning that game and where they would be right now. But this is a great chance to win, to continue to do a great job with recruiting. And but everybody is pumped about it, and I know you guys are too. I hope that McClain Stadium every seat is sold, because it always looks good on TV when they're doing, I don't know if it's helicopter shots, drone shots. There's not a better setting than when they're showing the river and the stadium, and I can't wait.
John, I want to talk a little bit of NFL before we got to let you go. The Texans and Packers this weekend was not the most beautiful football game ever played. The Packers, come out on top. The Texans did not play all that great. Was there any alarm bells in this game for you, especially how C.J. Stroud struggled?
It didn't have anything to do with Stroud. It had to do with the utterly pathetic performance of their offensive line. They weren't beaten physically. They were beaten mentally. They are poorly coached. They were poorly prepared, and they couldn't make an adjustment. All Green Bay did was rush forward and do a bunch of stunts and loops, and the players were clueless how to pick them up. I felt sorry for Stroud. One time he went to the sideline, threw his helmet. He's never shown that kind of emotion. They wasted Joe Mixon's 115-yard, 2-touchdown game. They had a defense that had 5 starters out. The defense went above and beyond, and they couldn't stop them on the last drive. They lost on a field goal with no time left, and now they play Indy. Beat Indy. They sweep the series, basically a 3-game lead, lose, and they're tied for first place, and people here are going to hit the panic button because that offensive line with the number 1 picks at tackle, left guard, a 2 at center, and an expensive free agent at right guard was wretched.
John, San Francisco's 3-4. They have Dallas, which you would think would be a way to get healthy, but they're not healthy. They lose Ayuk. They might not have Debo. What's the running back? Christian McCaffrey. I mean, are they in a dangerous spot right now?
Right now, their leading receiver is going to be a guy who was shot in preseason, Pearsall. And but I think that Debo Samuel will be able to play. He's out of the hospital. He had pneumonia. He's got plenty of time to recover. But remember, teams that lose the Super Bowl don't go back to the Super Bowl. Other than New England one year, I think it's been the Bills since the early 90s when they lost 4 in a row. And that doesn't bode well for them. Fortunately for them, there's no great team in their division, so they can still win it. And I'll say this about the Cowboys. I do a weekly video with Mattress Mac at Gallery Furniture, and we talk about colleges and the NFL, and goes out on our social media platforms. And he always asks me about the Cowboys because he's got quite a few people that work for him who are Cowboy fans. I've tried to get him to fire him, but he won't do it. And so I tell him, what were you saying about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys when they beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh with a late touchdown? What were you saying then? Okay, they had a terrible game. They're going to get 3 defensive starters back. They're still not going to be able to run the ball. And I told them today, and I'd like to tell your audience, if you have not seen Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty, you have to watch him Friday night. They play UNLV. They both lost 1 game. I stayed up and watched him play against Hawaii 2 weeks ago, and he reminded me of Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State. And I told friends of mine who hate the Cowboys too, I said, you better hope the Cowboys don't end up with Ashton Jeanty. Then it'd be worth getting blasted right now for Derrick Henry having more yards, twice as many yards as the Cowboys have as a team.
Yeah, he's John, I'll give credit to Craig because it was a couple of years ago because he does that Campbell Award and gets all the nominations. He's the one that first kind of had Ashton Genty on his radar, like this guy's really, really good. And obviously right now is among the favorites to be possibly win the Heisman Trophy. But, yeah, he's like a joystick video game player.
That's a great way to put it. And Craig, congratulations, because his first 2 years there, he was dividing time with another back, and I'm thinking, who was that back? What happened to him? Last year he split time and still gained 1,300 yards. Now he may get more than Derrick Henry. And I think he went to high school in Frisco. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And all these people came in, big schools, trying to get him last year, and he didn't leave. And I think he said his parents always told him, finish what you start. And, of course, that endears him to the NFL even more. Keep an eye on this kid. And UNLV's a great story. Remember their quarterback quit on him? Everybody thought it was the end of the world.
The guy's better.
He is better. And so now all of a sudden they're glad that guy left. And so college football, as you guys know, has just been fantastic. For all of our complaining about the portal and the NIL, the product on the field is just mesmerizing and captivating.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a year. Georgia, Texas capped off the weekend, but other games too. John, thank you very much, man. We appreciate your time as always.
Hang on one second. Second bear.
There you go. I knew John wanted to get straight into Baylor's dominant win against Texas Tech in Lubbock.